Hello and welcome to Get Radical with Your Business. I am your host, Heather Zeitzwolf, and we are talking about all things AI and content creation. I know for some, this is a very scary topic because jobs will be replaced. What are the ethical ramifications of AI and taking over? I mean, we've seen War Games, we've seen Terminator. It doesn't end well, does it? No. What is the future of this AI business and where are we at right now? AI is here to stay unless we become off the grid entirely or something happens. Maybe a meteor hits I don't know. AI is going to be here until the robots take over. So AI, yes, it may be scary. There could be ethical ramifications of it. But all in all, AI can actually be a pretty darn cool tool if used in a ethical way. I want you to keep an open mind. I realize there's so many jobs that are going to be completely eliminated, but this ever-changing, high-moving AI world that we are living in, if we don't start embracing this stuff now, we are going to be totally left behind. There was a time when there was no internet, or maybe it was being developed, but none of us were using it. I remember being at a job, this was in the early 90s, they were going to introduce this thing called email. So we were supposed to use this thing to communicate with someone that was in our physical office. I'm not talking about outgoing email to some other company. I'm talking about internal email. And I was like, well, that sounds really stupid because if I want to talk to somebody, I just get up from my desk and go and talk to them. Why would I need to send them a letter through a computer? Like, that just seemed weird. Well, it was a concept that I was not familiar with. Back then, we used to send letters, documents to each other in the office through actual envelopes. Like there was a mail guy that would come by and pick up these envelopes off of our desks and bring them over to somebody else. And so this idea of electronic mail seemed so bizarre. I didn't even think about the concept of like, you could actually send this to multiple people at the same time. This could be a way of documenting what you said. It's not like a piece of paper that could be floating around. You could actually save it on your computer. Who was even using computers then? For some listening to this, you might be like, whoa, did you live in like the age of the dinosaur? No, this was in the early 90s. We all had to jump on the bandwagon and get online and start using computers. For some, it was a clunky, weird thing. And I remember hearing the addresses for URLs and they would always say www dot blah, 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 blah dot com. And it was like, seems so weird. But, eventually if you wanted to be in the workplace, you had to learn how to use these tools. It's the same thing with AI. You know what? I think if you're resisting now, it's just going to take you a lot longer to get up and moving. And if you are a content creator, well, guess what? You're really going to have to jump on this bandwagon because things are moving so fast. I wanted people to help me out with this show because there's so many tools out there and everything is moving so fast that I wanted to get different people's opinions on what they're using, what tools that they're using. This episode is really going to be totally different. I had past guests of the shows, friends of mine, fellow content creators, send me recordings of how they're using AI tools for their content creation. So you're going to get some input from a whole variety of people, different ages, different backgrounds. Some are podcast producers, some do quiz funnels, some make courses. Get ready to learn all about AI tools. Some of this stuff may be new to you. There's things that people brought up that I had never heard of. Whether you think that you're like all that in a bag of chips when it comes to AI, well, listen in, buddy, because you're going to hear some new things. All right, here we go.
Hey there, it's Julie Hood from the Course Creators HQ, a podcast, and so excited to share with you how I'm using some of the AI tools. My first suggestion for you is to go out and use the bing.com search option and use the chat, because you get the latest and greatest version of the Chat GPT AI in there. Plus, it gives you links to see the sources for what you're using. So I love it. I've been using that to help us create even better content and inspire us with more ideas. So hopefully you can come join me at the Course Creators HQ podcast. We'll be talking about all things course creation, and I can't wait to hear this episode about AI tools from Heather.
So fun to hear from our friend Julie Hood. She was on my show, episode 77, where we were talking about course creation and how you can profit from it. So check it out. All right, we're going to go on to the next person, and this is Steve Stewart. You may know Steve Stewart if you are in the podcasting world, because he is a podcast editor and also runs a podcasting academy. He's got some different tools. So grab a piece of paper, a pen, your laptop, your phone, whatever you want to take notes on, because you'll want to keep track of what he's talking about. Here is Steve.
Hey, this is Steve Stewart from stevestewart.me, and I'm also the co-founder of the Podcast Editor Academy, where we teach people how to be podcast editors and do the post-production side of podcasting. Heather asked if I'd use Chat GPT, and I had to take a drink, because anytime somebody says the word now, you have to take a drink. That's the rule. Yes, I've used it, but actually there's some other tools I've been using much longer than that, and a couple of them found their way into my daily life as I do post-production for some clients. One show that I edit for, the host has a very defined, distinct, and easy to edit out verbal crutch, and he uses it all the time. So rather than going through the audio and deleting each instance one at a time, I'm able to use a program called Descript. I've known about Descript since, I think it was 2019. It was before COVID, which seems like a long time ago, and actually it was, if you think about it. And it uses AI to create a transcript of any audio or video you have. You drag the audio and video into the app on your Windows or your Mac. It transcribes the audio from the audio or the video track. And then to edit the audio, you actually have to edit the transcription. It's like editing a Word document. You select the word or words that you want to remove from the project with your cursor, and you hit the delete key, and it removes it from the transcript, and it also removes it from the audio. Amazing. And since it's using a transcript, you can say, hey, I want you to remove all the instances of right. Every time you hear the word right, I want you to delete it from the project. And within a couple of seconds, done. They're all gone. Now, the audio editing in Descript is not perfect, but it is a time saver. Another service I've been using for more than a year, and you're going to hear me rave about them because this is probably my favorite, is Capshow. Capshow is amazing. Now, there's no audio editing features in Capshow, but it does create all of the written assets that you would want, and it uses AI to help you to do that. So you'll bring your audio into Capshow. I believe they're going to be doing video now too. And it will create the transcript. It'll create a variety of titles for you. It'll create a variety of episode descriptions. It will create a couple of different pull quotes, a LinkedIn article, a YouTube post. It's a little different and geared towards a YouTube crowd versus a podcast audience. Just amazing stuff. But probably the reason why I keep going back to Capshow more and more is because I've got a client where I need to have the most accurate transcript I can, so I'm not spending time correcting it, with speaker labels and timestamps. I've tried other services such as Descript. Descript's accuracy was not there for my purpose. I tried a service called Podium or Podium. It's probably Podium because it's podcasting, right? Podium. But at the time, they didn't have speaker labels. And I was like, I really need the speaker labels. I also tried this app called Mac Whisper, which is a Mac only product. So I apologize if you're a Windows user. Mac Whisper is a one-time only purchase. It cost $15 or $20. It was ridiculously inexpensive, which is fantastic. But it's not going to be giving you an episode title. It's not going to be giving you episode description. This is strictly for transcripts, but this is where the technical part of it really comes in handy. Let's say your client says, hey, I need you to find any instance where the guest says, in the book, I wrote in the book, I have it in the book. In the book, I said, how do you find all those? Let's run a quick transcription from this one-time only $20 purchase. And it's just that amazing. And it's also great if you're just looking to create SRT or VTT files, which are great for like closed captioning for video. If you want to add that to like maybe make it more accurate and put it into the YouTube video, or you want to add this to some kind of a tool so that people who are hearing impaired can just read along with it. Fantastic. Just nice, lightweight. And again, 15 or 20 bucks, just fantastic. I'm really encouraged to see all the AI stuff that's coming out. We've been seeing it for years, but now we're seeing it just come out in droves. So what's the next thing that's going to be on the market? What's the next use case for AI in your pocket or on your computer or in your podcast? It's really exciting stuff. Can't wait to see more. This has been Steve Stewart from Stewart.me, co-founder of the Podcast Editor Academy, where we teach people how to be podcast editors.
Steve mentioned one of my favorite tools, Descript. I'm recording this right now in Descript, and it is so cool. I love this program, and the company has been really, really helpful. They care about what the user's experience really is. So if you are a Descript user and you come across something that it's like, it seems glitchy or weird, talk to them. They actually listen and they'll make the changes. It's amazing. So I love the people from Descript. Thank you so much, Steve, for mentioning that tool. It is awesome. If you are feeling like, oh my God, I've heard so many things already, don't worry. There's going to be links in the show notes so you can check out many of the tools that are mentioned on this show today. Next, we're moving on to a buddy of the show, Julie Fry. She was one of the first people on my show, episode 5 of the podcast, and she runs an agency that matches podcasting guests with podcasts, and it's called Your Expert Guest. Here's Julie Fry.
A few ways that I've been using AI. First is when a client sends us a bio, or let's just say you have a bio, but it's really long, like 500 words, which is sometimes what we see with new clients. I like to condense that. I'll put it into Chat GPT. I'll say condense to a 50 to 100 word bio suitable for podcasts, and it will spit something out. Obviously, I still need to tweak it, but it makes really quick work of what sometimes is a laborious process. Another way we use Chat GPT in our agency is we help our clients come up with interview topics, but sometimes we will run them through Chat GPT to be as SEO friendly as possible. So we'll take the interview topic, we'll pop it into Chat GPT, and we will ask it for, say, 5 versions of this topic, but SEO friendly. So that's another way that we do it. I have experimented with both Chat GPT, the free version, which I think is 3.5, and then with Bing, which apparently uses 4.0. And I have asked it to do research on podcasts. I've been very disappointed with what it returns back. It usually tends to pull back like the most popular podcasts, even though I tell it to say that have interviews. Sometimes it pulls podcasts that don't do interviews. So we are trying that. I try it, I don't know, every couple of weeks just to see if things change, but so far nothing has changed. But not to say, perhaps if you're in a really niche industry like med spas and you want to look at 10 med spa podcasts that take guests or that do interview format, you could try doing that in Chat GPT or in Bing, which uses Chat GPT 4.
Next up is Tiffany Grant. I met her last year at Podcast Movement and then again hung out with her at FinCon. It was so much fun. She is such a delight. And I heard her talk about an AI tool on Nick Loper's podcast. And I was like, oh my God, please, can you please talk about it on this one? And I really want to thank her because I had to interrupt her baby time. She just had a baby. And she was nice enough to contribute to the podcast today. So here's her input. This is a calendar tool that uses AI. This is something completely different. Here is Tiffany.
Hey, it's Tiffany from the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. I absolutely love the Motion app. Motion is a calendaring system where it kind of acts like your executive assistant without having an executive assistant. As a busy business owner with 3 kids and a single mom, I need something that keeps my business in order and in line. And Motion does just that. So you can add tasks And as meetings and things get booked, it moves those tasks around. You put deadlines, you put priorities, all types of stuff. It's really cool. So I highly recommend, if you are a small business owner, to get Motion. That has been one of the best uses of AI for me.
Next up, we're going to hear from Chris Martin, who I recently met at the podcasting conference here in Portland, Oregon. And he is one of these guys who is very curious about things, just like myself. As entrepreneurs, it's important to be curious, especially with new technology, right? As long as we don't get the shiny object syndrome. If you are an Adobe user, he is going to mention a new thing for Adobe. So listen in, and he's going to share a few different AI tools that he's been using. So here's my new friend, Chris Martin.
Hey there, this is Chris Martin from Getting Work to Work, and I wanted to share 3 AI tools that I've been using for my podcast and in my business. Before I share them, though, I want to let you know that I have been incredibly skeptical, borderline cynical about AI tools. And it wasn't until I listened to a friend's podcast where they shared this idea that AI is just another interface for creativity. And once I could see that, and I could see some of the positive examples out there, I was more free to explore these tools. So the first tool that I use is Podcast Enhance by Adobe. And at first, again, I was skeptical. I'm like, why would I use this tool? I've been building these skills in Audition. Why would I upload a file to Adobe? What is it going to be able to do that I can't already do? And the first time I tried it, I'm like, this didn't work. It didn't make any difference. But when I uploaded a file that sounded horrible and it did its magic, I was a convert. The second is MidJourney. It is an image generation platform on Discord that allows you to develop images based upon text prompts. Once I started trying it out and seeing what was possible, it actually became a lot of fun. I flashed back to earlier in my career when I used to make images in different software packages. And so as I dove into MidJourney and tried things, I've replaced the time spent searching stock image platforms like Unsplash and spent a little bit more time in MidJourney and made a little bit more custom art for my show. Finally, the tool that I'm slowest to adopt is Chat GPT. But where I'm using it that is actually very interesting is when I'm making logo designs, for example, and I want to show text headline to body copy relationships. Instead of using the industry standard of lorem ipsum, what I'm doing is I'm using Chat GPT to generate some copy. Those are 3 of the tools that I use. Again, there are a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of super excited people out there. But if you can try things out for yourself, come at it with a spirit of exploration and curiosity, you're going to be part of a conversation that is not going to go away. I'm coming at it with an open mind, and I hope you will as well.
Next up is Andrew Weiss, and he is the host of the podcast Rapid Results, which is a business podcast. And if you are in the podcasting world, you may recognize the name and the face, Andrew Weiss. He is so involved with Podfest. He's one of the guys behind the scenes. And I got to tell you, this guy knows a thing or two about efficiencies because he gets back to me pronto with emails. He's got 1,000 plates spinning. Meanwhile, he's able to get back to me right away. He's talking about a couple of tools that he's been using to help him with being efficient with his content creation.
The 2 tools that I have found that really helps content creators and has really streamlined my processes are vidyo.ai and castmagic.io. Castmagic.io. So the way I use these 2 tools, I create my content using live streamed content. And I put my content on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then I take the audio and turn it to a podcast. And my episodes are about 45 to 70 minutes. And with vidyo.ai, what's super cool is because I automatically live stream my content to YouTube, I just copy and paste that YouTube link, put it into vidyo.ai, and it automatically generates highlight clips for me. It makes the formatting super awesome. You can tweak the templates as much as you want, and it tells you the title of the clips. It automatically adds captions, makes you look good, and is super awesome for posting on social media to grow the content of my brands and grow the content of my podcast. And the other tool I like is castmagic.io. And the reason I like castmagic.io, it's currently an AppSumo, I believe. And what you do is you take your audio file, upload it. It will automatically create the transcript. It'll automatically create the show notes. It'll automatically tell you what kind of posts you should use for social media, of what to post on Twitter versus LinkedIn. It'll give you recommended emails that you can send out to your email list to announce the episode as well. And it really saves you so much time. All you have to do is post and forget about it, and it will give you all the templates, everything you need. So those are the two tools I recommend for content creators to save time and stress is Video.ai and CastMagic to help streamline things.
Next up, we're going to hear from Elaine Williams, who is a video and speech coach. She was on my podcast, episode 83, where we talked about embracing video to build influence and grow profits. Here is Elaine Williams talking about how she's using Chat GPT.
Hi, my name is Elaine Williams, and I am a video and speaker coach. And I've been using AI to help create content for the clients that I make content creation for. I've used AI to help me with subject lines, topics, writing some comedy jokes for a speech that I'm doing. I've used Chat GPT specifically. I've used Chat GPT to write an article, several articles about my brother and his famous Ferraris, to start social media posts. I have used Chat GPT just to ask questions about research and different things. I've taken a really cool class on it. It's fascinating, and I'm learning how to coach it like I would a new intern. And I think it's a great place to start. And usually just my brain goes and then I'm off, and I end up doing a lot of the editing and rewriting, but it's just a great place to get things going if I'm looking for a new angle or a topic, or I just feel somewhat stagnant with my creativity. I found it to be very helpful, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface.
Next up is my buddy, Ben Ebig. He is the host of My Cool Friends, which is a video podcast, which I was on, and probably one of the most fun interviews I've ever done. So if you're looking for a financial podcast interview that is filled with craziness and Funko Pop dolls, check that one out. Ben is going to talk about how he is using Chat GPT with his content creation.
Hello, this is Ben Ebig, host of My Cool Friends, as well as the Trivia Murder Party game show. I have been using AI recently to not only write stuff for my YouTube videos, but also to write text as well for all of our websites. It's not only been a useful writing tool, but also a useful tool for coming up with creative ideas for when it comes to writing as well. This has been Ben Ebig, and thank you so much for having me.
The next contributor towards this conversation is Nan McKay. She builds quiz funnels for entrepreneurs, and she's also been teaching workshops on using Chat GPT. So here are her thoughts on the product.
I'm Nan McKay of Nan McKay Connects, LLC. AI is revolutionizing the way that we write content. You create content every day, but sometimes you wonder whether it's clear and well written enough. You can use Chat GPT to rewrite, to brainstorm ideas, or actually write your content. The key is knowing how to write prompts, the lifeblood of AI and Chat GPT.
I'm not sure if you've come across this yet, but if you've been exploring different AI tools, a lot of them are using Chat GPT within those tools. I am not a programmer. I have no idea how this is working. There's some sort of integration going on. Next up is Anna Xavier, who is talking about how they're using a tool that integrates with Chat GPT. And it happens to be one that Steve Stewart mentioned earlier, which is Podium or Podium. I'm not sure.
Hey, I'm Anna. I'm the founder of the podcast space, and I am a podcast strategist. And the way that I'm using AI at the moment is I'm using a platform called Podium, which is also based on ChatGPT. And I write show notes with it because being a non-English native speaker, I basically want to make sure that my show notes are written correctly. I'm also using Chat GPT to just sometimes come up with better titles. So I'm sometimes reworking a few ideas through it, but I've been using that to create show notes, and it has really sped up my whole process. So I really like it.
At this point, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all this information about AI. But next we have Jenny Wren-Stuttrup, who is from Gritty Birds, and she is not only a podcaster, but she's also a podcast producer. And she's here to let us know that, yes, it all can be scary, but it doesn't have to be.
AI can be scary, but it can also be your best friend as long as you know what you're getting yourself into. My name is Jenny Wren-Stuttrup of Gritty Birds Podcasting and the Podcasters Forum, and I help people to really find their voice and fine-tune their voice in podcasting. I've been in the industry for a very long time, working as an editor in multiple different ways and as a producer, and in that, I was working with transcripts, with SEO, with launch clients, and with copywriting primarily. I started investing in AI with the AWS program as when I was doing a narrative podcast from when I first started out with Gritty Birds, and they needed people who would help test pilot their program, and it was absolutely useless. I had a team of transcribers, but it was very hard to keep up with, so that was where I started looking into that. These days, programs like Descript really save the world, and I've loved working with my narrative and producing clients to be able to do a lot of work using AI, anywhere from figuring out how to fine tune their voice and show them things using programs that I've invested in through AppSumo, or actually finding their keywords through programs that I've also found through AppSumo. AI has been something that can speed everything up. Over the last year, I've been out of the loop a little bit, so I'm really excited to start diving back in. I've also taken a lot of look at the legal sides and invested in how we want to be able to protect our privacy, etc. And that's something that I'm excited to explore more, as my show often focuses on tech on the YouTube side. So it is one of those things where give it a chance. There is moving faster than the speed of lightning. Just a month ago, it was at a point of 9 months of growth over 2 weeks. And that was a month ago. So imagine that it's double that by now. Go have fun, know your information, don't be scared, and be ethical about how you're stepping into it. Thanks.
I love how Jenny mentioned being ethical and not being scared. So important when we're thinking about AI. Next is Bernie Borges, who has been in the marketing world for a very long time, podcasting for a very long time, and now he is the host of the Midlife Fulfilled podcast, which I was a guest on. Here's what Bernie is up to these days using AI.
Hey, Heather, it's Bernie Borges, host of the Midlife Fulfilled podcast, and I want to let you know that the AI tools that I'm using for content creation are two. One is Writer. I think it's writer.ai or .com. I don't remember, but you can find it. It's just called Writer. And the other one, of course, is Chat GPT, but I also use Bard, Google Bard. So I compare the two. They don't do the writing for me. They just give me drafts and outlines and ideas, and it's really helpful for that. So hope that's helpful. Again, Bernie Borges, check me out at midlifefulfilled.com, and I am the host of the Midlife Fulfilled podcast.
Next up is Michelle Walters, who is the co-host of the Mind Power Meets Mystic podcast, which I was a guest on as well. And not only is she now a hypnotherapist and a coach, in her past, she's worked in marketing and knows a thing or two around SEO and copy and all that type of stuff. So I really wanted to get her thoughts on Chat GPT.
Michelle Walters here with a little clip on how I use AI for my podcasts. Right now, I use AI to help after the podcast is done by taking the podcast transcript, putting it into Chat GPT, and using that to help me come up with a few of the pieces and parts that you always need when you produce a podcast. So I have Chat GPT help me with title ideas, with summaries, with SEO, and really use it to just help synthesize some of the content. I also use co-headlines to take some of the ideas from Chat GPT and expand upon them and make them into better headlines. I think AI is really helpful for podcasts, but I really use it kind of as an adjunct to the central content.
Last and certainly not least, Bree from Numospec Media Productions and the Creator Lab. Bree is such a brilliant person. She's been working in social media, content creation for years. I really wanted to get her take on what she thought about AI, and I'm really excited to share this with you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bree. I'm with Numospect Media Productions and the Creator Lab. I'm glad that you're asking a question about AI. I do use it a lot to save myself time when I'm juggling so many things. Time is my most precious commodity these days. And how I use it is when I am doing show production as an executive producer of Fuzzy Logic, I have utilized AI to help with outlining everything I need to get all of our show notes, all of our production meetings. I feed that into AI and I ask it to create me an outline. And I keep using the same Chat GPT folder on that because you can reuse it. And as we go in AI, it will let you continue and learn from what you're talking about. So when I tell it I'm doing a new episode of Fuzzy Logic, here are the show notes from it. It already knows who the hosts are, what the segments are, and how I run the show. So it allows me to take all of that information and put it into a nice, tidy little outline that's really easy for our hosts to follow. And it keeps all of our things together. And it's been really useful and it saves me so much time. So if you're looking to put something that you have a lot of notes on and you want to compile them all together, you can feed it a lot of information in one request and put all of it in there and then say, please create me an outline with this information. And it will do that for you. You might have to tweak it a little bit. Just double check it. As always, you never know. But I highly recommend it. It has saved me a ton of time. It has kept me organized and allows me to do weekly shows that I can produce and keep up with all of the other things that go into running a show or doing a podcast.
There are so many new tools out there to explore. One of my favorite tools is Grammarly. Notion, which is one of my very favorite programs to use to keep organized. They also have an AI function now. You pay a little extra for it. I can take content that I already have in Notion. They have all these different prompts like turn it into a blog, turn it into show notes, turn it into an outline. That way I can take existing content that I already have on their platform and repurposing it into something else. We're going to see more and more of these types of tools being rolled out. I know that people who love Canva are very excited about using this AI tool within Canva. So if you haven't explored that yet, I think it's even free. I think they even have a free version to use the AI in Canva. And you can put in some different prompts, and I've used it for presentations. Adobe is also rolling out a whole bunch of new tools. I'm an Adobe user, so I'm really excited to explore more of these things. Don't be afraid of AI. Yes, the world of Terminator could be our future. It's not yet. If you are afraid that AI is going to take over whatever it is that you're doing, start using AI now so that you can integrate it into your workflow and use it as a tool rather than a replacement. Remember, you are unique. You are not a computer. There is no way that a computer program will ever replace you, at least maybe not in our lifetime. Go out there and be creative, try new things, and don't let new technology get in your way.